Welcome back. In this episode, we explore the path to regulation in the Philippines with Peter Dator, president of the Vapers Philippines, and Clarisse Virgino, who's the CAFR representative to the Philippines. Later on, we'll also discuss what's going on in Australia, and it doesn't look good. In a country of 16 million smokers, it has been a very long and winding journey to get a regulated consumer market for safer nicotine implemented in the Philippines. The story itself contains intrigue, corruption, and an epic battle between science and ideology. As we know, science won, and the Philippines now has a regulated consumer market for vapes and heated tobacco products.
We have hope. The vape law is now here. It is time to act. Hope is no longer enough.
We spoke with both Peter Dator and Clarisse Virgino in the Philippines.
You have your voice and you have the science to back it up.
About the process, and we had asked them for some insights that may assist other advocates going to battle for their rights. Thank you both for joining us. My first question is for Clarisse. Can you give a brief overview of the process of how the Philippines got to legislation and regulation for a consumer market?
Okay. As you know, we have been fighting the good fight for quite some time now. I think even before I got into tobacco harm reduction consumer advocacy, my colleagues here in the Philippines have already started that because we are completely aware that there are millions of Filipinos who die due to lung-related illnesses that is caused by cigarette smoking. Personally, I think it is high time for the government, for the administration, and for the nation actually to be able to provide a stable and a more secure law to help the people protect their public health. And that is through the vape law that we have right now. Sometimes I do think that we are lucky that in this point in time, we were able to have an open dialogue with our policymakers, and that they are very receptive of the science and the evidence that we were able to present to them during consultations, because we do that here. We do have consultations with stakeholders, and I think those consultations also really help in providing a law that is fair and will be able to protect people. I think, we got lucky with our policymakers, but on top of that, it's also the effort that my colleagues and I really put into providing the science and evidence behind tobacco harm reduction for our policymakers.
And now, Peter, I have a question for you. What were some of the obstacles, especially with regards to the Philippine FDA?
That's a tough question, Nancy. Here in the Philippines, it was very difficult. First and foremost, I think they are very well organized.
It is not harm reduction. It is harm introduction.
There's a lot of lobby groups during the course of enacting the vape law now in the Philippines. They are very organized. They hosted a lot of concerts. They also did a lot of online events. Really, they were very quick on submissions. And if you could remember, later on we found out in one of the sessions with our lawmaker here that apparently some of them are getting funding from a non-philanthropist. So that's one thing. And also, they're just really very quick making noise online, posting a lot of messages. So highly organized and well-funded.
So how did you address these obstacles, especially from the people who are against these regulations?
Well, first and foremost, from an online perspective, we try to answer as much as we can based on the science and the resources that we have. With respect to the funding, that's something that we requested with our lawmakers to address, because we don't, the consumers here in the Philippines, we don't have the resources to dig deep into that. And finally, various organizations here in the Philippines, we made sure that whenever we are invited to attend public consultations with lawmakers and policy-making bodies, we make sure that our voices are heard and that we just really banked on the science and the evidence that we have.
My last question is for you, Clarisse. Can you give any guidance or advice to other advocates that can benefit from your experience? What are the pitfalls or landmines that they should and can avoid?
As an advocate, I do get this question a lot, and I really can't give a straight answer because I think this is case to case per country. But personally, I do think that we have to be open as a consumer advocate and as a consumer myself. I think we have to be open to a lot of criticisms and also suggestions from our own policymakers. We have to work really hand in hand with other consumer advocates, from industry people as well as policymakers to be able to come up with something that is fair and something that will help not only us but the general public. I do think that one of the problems that we have encountered is disinformation.
The studies now will show that these vaping products have been shown to contain cancer-causing agents, cancer-causing chemicals.
In this day and age, it is very, very rampant. And this is something that is hard to solve. But I still think that with consistency in providing the real science and the real evidence for tobacco harm reduction, we will be able to at least topple that disinformation, because there's a lot of issues with disinformation. A lot of people tend to believe right away what they see, and we can't blame them because sometimes we lack also in raising more awareness. So I think for starters, we really need to raise awareness on what tobacco harm reduction is and how it can help save lives of people.
Thank you both for joining us. And now, an update on Australia, where things are definitely not looking good.
Authorities in New South Wales are trying to clamp down on those who are selling widespread nicotine vapes.
Cracking down on illegal e-cigarette trading, seizing more than $1 million worth so far this year.
The regulations were designed to allow adults to access nicotine vapes with a doctor's support and to prevent youth vaping. However, they've had the opposite effect.
We found there are literally hundreds of these suppliers on social media that you can buy from. Kids are using TikTok, Snapchat and Facebook to find where they can buy nicotine vapes.
Now, the Australian model has been an embarrassing failure.
The consultation from the TGA in Australia closed last month amidst controversy surrounding the true intent of the process.
If you can buy cigarettes legally in this country, should you be able to buy nicotine vapes legally?
Basically, if you have a prescription, you can get nicotine vapes, but there's a thriving black market.
The fact that you made everyone go down the route of having to get a prescription to get their nicotine is why all of this black market exists now.
In December, the TGA had admitted, grudgingly, that the medicalized model for nicotine access in Australia was not working as intended and announced a consultation.
The TGA is wits that brought in the prescription system a little over 12 months ago, and like pretty much everyone in the industry told them this was a terrible idea and is going to result in a black market, and it has.
It's been revealed just how easily Australian teenagers are accessing illegal e-cigarettes.
This law has failed. This law is failing. It is time to look at other solutions.
It kind of sounds a bit crazy when you can buy cigarettes over the counter, but the vapes that contain the nicotine you're going to get a $200,000 fine. It's not making sense. There's the left hand isn't talking to the right hand. Oh, right, left, you know what I'm saying?
In the meantime, it has come out that Australia is, in fact, looking to tighten up the controls on nicotine and move further away from a consumer market for safer products.
So plain packaging, flavours more like tobacco, and take away the colours.
Restricting the entry of these products into the country, people being able to import them for themselves.
And in typical style, regulators in Australia are doubling down on their bad decision and trying to implement even more bad decisions. We're talking some pretty up regulations they are proposing.
The laws are about to change again, and it's not looking good for any of us.
Lastly, thank you again for joining us. Please keep an eye out on social media for information about the start of the TAV Live Sunday sessions, which begin on the 5th of March with a focus on the COP meeting in November. So keep an eye out for the link to join and share in your networks. Until then, stay safe and be well.